And I was feeling so good that I actually went and played lacrosse for the first time in 8 years. First time in 8 years. Okay, so I missed a couple videos, but let's catch up. I got a lot to share with you. Okay, so if you're watching this video, then it means you're interested in posture correction and the journey that I'm going on to fix my posture. And hopefully, by sharing with you what I learn as I go along, I can help shortcut the curve for you, because it's been my experience that this can be a very long and arduous road. And so if there's anything I can do to help you shorten this curve, then that's time well spent. So about 6 months ago, I put up a video that said, hey, I'm going on this journey to start working on my posture because I was in really bad shape. And long story short, I was doing well, going strong, things were getting better, and then of course I fell off. And I say of course because it was a pattern for me, and maybe it's a pattern for you, where you say you're gonna do something and you're gonna stick to it and you're gonna be diligent and you're gonna be disciplined. For whatever reason, you know, life gets in the way and things kind of fall apart. So after I fell off the wagon, there was like 2 months of just like, woe is me, like, oh my God, this sucks, like my life sucks and I'm a victim, right? But something changed and I just decided, look, like, I don't care what it takes, like I am going to master my body. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how much money I have to pay. I don't care what it requires of me in terms of time investment. I'm going to figure this out. And once I made that commitment, it's like things sort of started to fall in place. And I want to explain to you what I'm doing so you can get an understanding of how I'm going about correcting my imbalances. So one thing that I was dealing with was forward head posture from sitting at the computer for long periods of time, right? So one thing that I wanted to correct was bringing the neck back. The other thing was winging scapula. And so when the scapula is not sitting right on the shoulder blades, then they will start to wing and those muscles become weak. I was dealing with 2 things in my pelvis, so anterior pelvic tilt and lateral pelvic tilt. Now, I was going to work on my hips, man, everything I could do to try to fix it, and nothing was really working. You know, I'd feel better for a little bit, but then I immediately slip out of it. And it's like this hip was chronically elevated. And I want to show you before and after picture. And this is a work in progress. You know, this is something that I'm working on every day. So here was a picture of about 6 months ago. Here's a picture of where I'm at today. So as you can see, there's a pretty dramatic difference. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it progress? Absolutely. Am I happy? Yes. Yes, because it really has only been, I'd say, 2 months of really disciplined and diligent work. And, you know, you can't expect to fix a lot of imbalances throughout your entire body in a short period of time that have been building up over years and years and years and years. So it's going to take some time. So I want to structure this video in a couple ways. Number 1, I want to give you like the mindset. Number 2, I want to talk to you specifically about lateral pelvic tilt and the breakthrough that I've had with it. Number 3, I want to tell you about something that I'm using, a tool that I'm using to actually make exponential progress while everyone else is sort of stagnating. This tool will allow you to get laser focused on what actually matters and drive results moving forward. So number 1 is the mindset, right? So if we're looking at the mindset, going into this, it was like, okay, how can I fix this? How can I get through it as quickly as possible? And that mindset really doesn't serve you. It really will throw you off. It will really throw you off when, you know, you hit a road bump. The mindset that I've chosen and that is really serving me is I am committed to becoming an expert at moving my body. And I am seeking out the best mentorship and I am putting in the time that it requires in order to fully understand, and I am becoming obsessed. I believe that obsession can be really powerful if used in a healthy way, and I am just becoming absolutely maniacal about the human body and how it works together, functionally, mechanically, and I am seeking out the best people in the world to learn from. And I'm actually doing expert interviews in my Facebook group. There's a link in the description if you want to check that out, but I'm bringing the world's leading health and movement experts into that group, and I'm interviewing them about body mechanics and posture and corrective exercise and all this stuff. So I get to learn from them and then share it with other people as well. So because I made this decision to become an expert at mastering my body and understanding how it works, it changes the dynamic in my relationship with the activity. So instead of like, oh, I have to do this thing in order to get XYZ result, it's more like, no, I'm embarking on a journey and every step is like part of the game. And it's a different level, right? So I figured this one thing out and then I go to a new level. I figured this next thing out and then I go to a new level. And as I start extrapolating the different ideas and the different breakthroughs that I have, and I start piecing it together, it all starts to make sense and it all starts to kind of click. And where things were disjointed before, they have now become interconnected. And so one of the books that was super helpful for me was this book, Mastery by Robert Greene. And in this book, Robert talks about becoming an apprentice, and going through the process of learning and mastering a skill through a teacher or through your own discipline, and seeking the best experience and knowledge available to you at the time, and going through the process, all the layers of mastery, starting with, hey, I'm just a peon, I'm a Padawan, I'm just learning, to cool, like, I feel like I'm starting to get things, then you get humbled again, and then, the cycle continues to evolve until the point where, I don't think you ever really truly master anything, but you become really, really proficient and you become an expert and you're able to teach and you're able to share. And I hope that by teaching and by sharing this information, it's going to help me embody what I've learned even more. So that's number one, mindset. So let's talk about number two, which is this lateral pelvic. That is hot. So let's talk about this second thing, which is lateral pelvic tilt, which is when one hip is higher than the other. And this is often known as leg length discrepancy or fake or false leg length discrepancy. And it can be caused by a number of things. And some of the symptoms that you might experience with lateral pelvic tilt is you're gonna have a tight right adductor. You're gonna have a tight right thigh or hip, tight like rib cage or oblique. And you might have problems feeling on the left side. You might have like a weak left adductor, a weak left hamstring. And what I discovered when I was working through trying to figure out how this lateral pelvic tilt thing works, and I was going to town on my hips and my back and trying to, bring the hip level, and it wouldn't do it. And then I stumbled across this video, which I'm going to link up, that went into depth about the cause of lateral pelvic tilt. And what I discovered for myself, and maybe this is what's going on with you if you suffer from this, but I was pronating inwards with my left ankle really bad. My feet were collapsing, the arches were collapsed. And I noticed that whenever I walked, this foot would just come in. And what I realized is that when I was like 12 years old, my brother pushed me off a swing and I landed on my ankle just like that. And I think I broke my ankle or sprained it really badly, but I never went to the doctor. And so after years and years and years, almost a decade and a half of walking with bad mechanics, my foot pronating inwards, that could cause a lot of imbalances up the kinetic chain. And it's so interesting how sometimes something on the left side of your foot could affect your right hip or your right back, right? And the source of the pain is usually never the root of the pain, but from my experience so far. And so I just decided, hey, I'm gonna go to town on my ankle now. And I'm going to really strengthen my feet. I'm gonna increase the mobility of my ankles. I'm gonna be able to get really good sensation and grip strength with my toes. And I'm just gonna focus a lot of my efforts onto foot mechanics. And wouldn't you know that things started to get better? Sure enough, and within a week, I was feeling better than I felt in years. And I was feeling so good that I actually went and played lacrosse for the first time in 8 years. First time in 8 years. I cannot tell you how happy I was, how good it felt. And this has been such a battle for me. It's been such a bar fight, just trying to figure this thing out. And everyone will tell you it's something else, but here's what I've learned. What I've learned is that you just have to develop good body awareness. And what I mean by body awareness is like you have to be really present to what your body is doing, your physical meat suit is doing in space. And when you get really clear on what's going on with your body in physical space, you can feel when something is doing what it's not supposed to be doing. And a lot of times we get disconnected from what's actually happening in our body, so disconnected that we're feeling pain and we think like that's the thing, when really that thing is just trying to tell you, hey, your ankle is not working, like your foot is not landing on the ground the way that it's supposed to land on the ground, and it can't feel. So that sensation is cut off, and so we get to compensate on the other side to make sure that you don't fall over. And it's so crazy how the body works. And because all the muscles are attached to the central nervous system, which is attached to our brain, when you start activating new parts of your body that you haven't felt in years, it's been my experience that your mind and your emotions start to change, which is really weird, but it's definitely been my experience. So I'm going to make a very thorough video on lateral pelvic tilt and how I'm working on mine. And I'll also link up all the resources that I use to figure this stuff out. And something else that I didn't realize is that the diaphragm is asymmetrical. So the diaphragm is a huge muscle that we have right up in here, and one side is bigger than the other, which creates a natural asymmetry in the body. Over years and years and years of maybe not exercising that diaphragm asymmetrically, and most people don't know how to breathe, right? And they're not breathing through their diaphragm, and so that muscle becomes weak, and when that happens, it can cause distortion, right? And so that is another discovery that I made. It's like, wow, like there's this thing that if I just work on the left side and not the right side, I start to even out a bit. And I thought this was so interesting because you would not think to go for the diaphragm for these breathing muscles, but they're super impactful and they make a big difference, right? And you may have to work one side harder than the other. These are some of the biggest breakthroughs that I've had in the last month or so, and I continue to have breakthroughs day in and day out because I'm just spending so much time with my body. I feel like I'm developing a relationship with my body that I never had before. It's like I really am giving myself so much time and so much space to devote to figuring these things out so that I can distill them for you. Okay, number 3 is this tool that I told you about. This tool that I'm using to get laser focused on what's actually important. And it's called OKRs, Objective Key Results. Okay, so you set an objective, kind of like a goal, but then you have these key results, which are like sub-goals. The first half of the key results should be leading indicators, and I'll explain that in a second. And the second half of the key results should be lagging indicators. So leading indicators are the activities that if you do them, they should flow into the lagging indicators, right? So for example, in sales, a leading indicator would be dials. How many people did you call, or how many people did you reach out to? And a lagging indicator would be how many sales calls did you have? How many sales calls closed? And that is how you could structure, like, for example, the revenue goal would be, cool, I want to make $20,000 this month. I'm going to do 100 outreaches. 100 outreaches should get me 40 calls booked, 20 calls taken, 10 calls good fit, 5 calls sold at $5,000 a pop. That's 20 grand, right? So that is the example of the objective. I want to make 20 grand. Then the leading indicator being 100 outreaches, lagging indicator calls booked. So this is exactly what I did with my health goals. I just said, cool, in order to improve my posture, my mechanics, my body, what are my leading indicators and what are my lagging indicators. And if you don't know, I've been talking about this in the other videos. There's 2 things that I'm doing every day to improve my body mechanics, to work on my posture, my physiology. Number 1 is I'm in the moveu program, and I'm going through their modules step by step. I'm doing their exercise, I'm posting in the community. And then number 2 is I'm doing prehabbing, which if you don't know what prehabbing is, then I'll link those up in the description as well. But the combination of prehabbing and moveu gives me enough tools to really make the progress that I need in order to get my body back to where I want it to be. So if you're watching this and you want to improve your posture, you want to work on your physical body, then I would definitely suggest checking out the resources below. Also, when I post a lateral pelvic tilt video, I will link that up. I don't know when it will be up, but I will link it up. And I wanted to give you guys this update as I am putting lots of energy into this, and I will be the first one to tell you that it definitely is taking a lot of time. And it probably takes a lot of time because I sit at a desk and I work on the computer lots of the day. And so, you know, I've been doing that for years and years and years, as maybe you do as well. And so I do a lot of work and then I kind of undo the work when I get on my desk. And so the game is really mastering the lifestyle of how do I work and move and, you know, be in an ergonomic position in space so that my body doesn't slip into poor body mechanics. And so there's going to be an education process for me to learn how to sit better, to learn how to stand better, to learn how to be at the computer better, and to always be mindful of like how we're standing, where is our body, where is our pelvis, where is our shoulder, you know, how are our ankles, are our feet gripping the floor, like what are all the checkpoints that we need to know that we are actually doing what we're supposed to be doing in terms of our physiology, our body, right? So I know I'm going to be so happy in a year or 2 years that I made this and I documented the process, because then you're going to be able to say, Kyle, but how do you do this? And I'm gonna say, look, I did it. It's like, here's all the steps. This is what I was learning. I wish someone had made this sort of process while they were in it, so that I could be inspired to, you know, say like, cool, like this guy's doing it, I can do it too. And that's what I hope for this video. That's what I hope for you. I hope you get out of pain. I hope you're thriving with your health right now. And if you like this video, feel free to like, subscribe, and if you want to, leave me a comment. Let me know what questions you have about lateral pelvic tilt, you know, about ankle mobility, stuff like that. I don't know all the answers, but I'm definitely learning and discovering them. And if you like this content, then you might like our free community as well. Link in the description for people who are into biohacking, health optimization, all that fun stuff. It's a Facebook group. Just click the link. It will take you there, and we'll see you inside. As always, I'm 𝐘𝐒_. Be well. I'll see you in the next video.